Seeing Jock on there, I was like, oh no, he's going to torment me because he knows me and I've worked with him. Well, I actually grew up watching the show. So I can remember, back to the first season and like Poe and Julie Goodwin and watching a show like that and just being like, one day I'm going to go on it, I think I was probably like 11 or 10 or something back then going, yeah, one day that's going to be me. And my mum just kind of laughed at me. I was like, sure, Laura, whatever. And I was actually at uni in my first year and I was studying health science and I wanted to get into a teaching path. So I wanted to do something, whether it was in like food or health or sport, and teach and inspire people. And I was bored and I didn't want to study for my exams. So I just went online and I filled out an application, and it would have been like a 10-minute little thing, like a little questionnaire about yourself, explain who you are, sell us a story kind of a thing. And I got an email back like 2 days later saying like, we loved your application, we'd love to like proceed you to the next level. And I was like, oh, okay, what have I done? But I guess like you just don't think anything of it. You put an application in and there'd be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people applying. And I just kept getting through round after round after round. And I ended up deciding to not sit my exams and fly to Melbourne and try out. And it turned out all for the best. I mean, it's definitely like a surreal experience walking in. And I guess sometimes you have to kind of stop and think that you are part of this TV show. Like it's such a out of this world experience that it's like you don't really know what's happening while you're in it. And it's very much like, it took me a long time to actually understand that I was on MasterChef, I was filming a TV show, and that it would come out and everyone would see what was happening. It just felt like I was on a cooking camp somewhere with a bunch of random people and no one was ever going to see the footage. One of my biggest, I think, challenges and fears was always that everyone had so much more life experience than me. And even just small things like they've eaten out at more restaurants, they've seen different cuisines. Like growing up, my mum only cooked Italian food. So that's all I really knew. Sometimes she'd make some fried rice and we'd maybe have like dumplings one night, but that was as adventurous as we got. It was always Italian. So when it was a challenge that I could cook my food, I feel like I always did well. And then every other challenge of any other cuisine, it was kind of just stay in the middle of the pack. Don't be the worst dish. Don't be the best. Just kind of glide on through. And it just worked and worked and worked, which was good. I think the biggest challenge is when you are that young, you just don't have those experiences that other people do. So, and it's a very easy space to judge yourself and doubt yourself and look at what everyone else is doing and be like, well, I'm not as good as that person. So it's definitely a mental game as well, and it's just you go in each day and you have fun. And I think that's like my advice to anyone. Go in, have fun, and don't take it for granted. It was interesting, especially like the first 6 months afterwards. And I would say even more so maybe the first 3 months when you'd finish filming, I knew the result and you had to go back to reality, back to the normal world, and just kind of, I guess live your life, go and start working somewhere without people knowing the result of the show or that you'd finished filming. So that's like a little bit hard. And I always like feel for everyone who's in that position because it's like a bit of an awkward lull. Like you don't really know what to do. I just threw myself into hospitality. I ended up working at Arana with Jock. And so I went there for like a 2-week kind of work experience thing. And I got offered a job. So I was like, all right, cool. I guess we'll just, we'll take it. Like just go see how it works out, roll with it, whatnot. Ended up meeting my hubby there, and I stayed there for I think almost 3 years and just loved it. I think after 3 years, I was like, I need to see what else there is in hospitality because it was like an incredible experience to work there. And I just kept moving around and different kinds of restaurants and learning new things. So good. So good. And here we are. Like, what is it now? 11 years later, I think. Well, I was actually on my honeymoon when I got asked. I took a phone call because I was like, oh, why is someone from Melbourne calling? Like, maybe it's important. And I was in Sicily on Mount Etna drinking too much wine, I think, and just picked up this phone call. I was like, okay, that sounds like a cool opportunity. But I was like, no, stay cool, stay calm. Like, that sounds great. I have to think about it. And I was a yes, like from the minute I heard that he invited me back. Like I have nothing but positive experiences from the show, and it's done so much for me and opened so many doors. So I feel like, I couldn't go wrong personally going back, whether it was you're there for a week or not. I think it's, again, one of those opportunities you can't say no to. But then I think the weirdest part was then also while I was away, then they announced the new judges. And seeing Jock on there, I was like, oh no, he's going to torment me because he knows me and I've worked with him. So I was like, oh, do I not? But I'm glad I said yes. I really am. I mean, I feel like I've got such incredible memories and happy memories from both seasons, but I did love going back for season 12. I think it, like you said, it's the experience, and also walking into the kitchen every day, not having that like feeling in your stomach, that little knot, like, oh god, what if I go home today? Like, it's, you've got your career established, you're there more for fun and to show what you've kind of learned since. And for me, I just felt like I was a completely different person. So to be able to show where I started to where I was then, I love season 12. It was incredible. It was a shame it was through COVID and, things changed a bit, but also I think maybe it was really successful as well through COVID because we were let back into people's lounge rooms and it felt homely, which is really nice. I mean, I would definitely say so. Since then, I've opened another restaurant. So we've opened Fagazzi. So this is where I'm currently sitting in Nido, which was opened about 4.5 years ago. So going back the All-Star series. And yes, we opened Fagazzi about 2 and a bit years ago now. And I think that's definitely a career highlight. Not just the size of the restaurant, it's like a New York Italian like bistro kind of feel. It's very beautiful, it's huge. But doing it through COVID, I think if you can get through that challenge and come out the other end just as strong as you were when you first opened, I think that definitely tests you as a person and your relationships and your work hours and all the things and how much you can push your body. But I would say that's definitely been a huge career highlight, and being able to balance 2 restaurants and not neglect one or the other. I feel like it's something to be proud of. I never thought I'd go back to reality TV. So it was actually really hard. Like, I found Snack Masters harder than MasterChef. And I think it's because like I only probably realized this towards the end of Snack Masters, but you really have to start thinking like a robot or like a factory, because you need to think of food in a completely different way. Like, you go into MasterChef, you get given a beautiful mystery box and you're like, beautiful, what's like the prettiest, most wholesome, delicious dish that you can make, highlighting those ingredients. You go into Snack Masters, it's like, great, I need this emulsifier, this flavor enhancer, I need fake coloring, I need this, because everything is so mass produced and they're all snacks. So you've got like lots of little hidden things in there. And trying to change my mentality to that was actually really difficult, like really, really difficult. But it was fun. Like, it makes you think in a different way. And I love the challenge. I feel like my restaurant capacity is good. Hubby is like, no, we're going to keep going. And I'm like, yep, okay. But I mean, I host a afternoon cooking show on 10 called My Market Kitchen. So I've been doing that now for 3 years, which I love. But for me, I think it's now, hopefully from next year, fingers crossed, to get my own cooking show. Some really exciting things in the pipe works, with the cookbook as well, if we can get that all down packed. But I think it's just about me being me and showcasing my upbringing, my culture, my love of food. And my big thing to highlight is my love of South Australia. I feel like SA just gets sometimes forgotten about, and Adelaide is a very small place, and I am definitely a big Melbourne city girl at heart. I was born there, but I love SA and everything it has, and it's just such an inspiring place to be when you are in food and and wine as well. So the more I can highlight it and the more I can share with everyone around the country, the better. I think with a show like MasterChef, it's what you put into it, you get out of it. So I think for me, like, one of my biggest things is probably the producers back in season 6, how much they physically push you when they invest in you. And it's those conversations you have off camera with them that really motivate you, and they tell you why you're here, that remind you that, yes, it's hard, but you're going to get something out of it. And I think it's, having that in the background, and knowing that there is reward, whether you win or not, or you don't even get into top 5 or top 10. You see so many success stories from people who were on the show for a week or the whole way through to the end. But yeah, I'm a big believer of like, what you put in is what you get out. And I think the harder you work on the show, the opportunities come. And I'm just thankful for the right doors and the right paths that have opened because of the successes from the show.